Hi everyone. In this video I will be showing you around the user interface of Adobe Premiere Pro. So when you first launch Premiere Pro, the first thing you will see is the home screen. You can either create a new project or open a project that you've recently been working on. There is a saved project in the resources provided with this course. You can have a go at loading that after this video. For now, let's click Create New Project. Here you can choose a name for your project and also where to save it. You also have some general settings which you can adjust, but I'm going to leave the settings as they are by default. Once you press OK, you'll be launched in the Adobe Premiere Pro interface. We are going to look at all the main sections within this interface. Now, to really make sense of how these sections are used, let's first import some footage. That will allow us to see what each section is doing. In the bottom left corner here, we have our project media panel. This is where we can import all of our footage or clips and our sounds. There's many different ways you can actually import. One easy one is just by dragging things in. So if we open the folder Adobe Premiere Pro, which you can find attached with this course, we can go into clips and can simply highlight, drag and drop those clips in. Alternatively, you can always right-click and import. Like any other program, you have access to save, create new projects, and more from the file drop-down. So this is the project media panel, and here we can organize and see all the files we have imported and what we are working with. If we ever click and drag one of the media clips onto our timeline, which is this box right here, you'll see that it will automatically create a new sequence. This new sequence will be based on the size and dimensions of this clip. There's a whole load of layers that our clips and audio can go onto and that we can drag through. Also, our program window right here shows us what we are looking at on the timeline. To the left of this, we come to another main section of our interface. So if I highlight a clip, you'll see on the left we have a few different windows, and one of the main ones is the Effect Controls panel. Here we can adjust certain aspects of each clip, such as the scale, position, and rotation, amongst other things. We will look at all of these in more detail in later videos. Within each one of these panels, there are also a few different tabs that we can switch through. So we just saw the Effect Controls window, but there's also the Source window. If I have a double click on one of our imported clips, I can actually view this whole clip in the Source window. You can look at a clip in its entirety in the Source window by just dragging through this playhead. We also have the Lumetri scopes, which gives us more visual information about the brightness and color within our clips. In the audio clip mixer section, you can edit and adjust the sounds you are working with. There is also an effects panel where all the video effects and video transitions live. Within some of these main sections, there are also some other tabs which we may not always use, but they are there if you need them. If we want to close any of these, we can just right-click and select Close Panel. If you ever want to open a particular window or see where something is, you can always just go to the Windows drop-down. Here you can check things on or off. The interface is also designed to allow you to drag things however you want. So if you like your Effects Controls panel down here, you can put it there. Or if you want to pop out a panel, you can right-click and undock to move around. At the top of the interface, there are also some pre-organized workspaces for you. So you have a section that works on the assembly of clips, another here that focuses on colors, or something that just focuses on effects. Adobe has arranged these workspaces so they are better suited for that topic. Most of the time, I prefer working within the default workspace in the editing section. Here I make a few adjustments to move some tools around. Another useful tip is that you can also drag in between panels to adjust their size. This is helpful if you want to make one larger than the other. So that was an introduction to the interface of Adobe Premiere Pro. In the next section, we will look at how to organize your footage within the Project Media panel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I am going to show you how you can organize your footage in the Project Media panel in Premiere Pro. So as you saw in the previous video, we can simply drag clips from the Project Media panel onto our timeline. You can then start working and editing those video clips. However, there's a few different ways you can view and organize your footage within the Project Media panel. So you have the list view, which is what I have currently. This shows you different pieces of information in columns of the clip. We can see if it is just audio or a video with audio track, and there is also information like how long the clip is. There is also the icon view where you can see an actual preview of the video clip. Finally, there is the freeform view, which is a very easy and nice way to arrange our footage. If we double click on the panel, the window will be enlarged. And you can actually do that for all panels in Premiere Pro. So in the freeform view, you can see a preview of the clip, just like the icon view. I can use the scale at the bottom of the panel to make things bigger and adjust their size. Now the unique thing about the freeform view is that you can actually click on the clips and drag them wherever you want. Therefore, they don't have to be locked in a grid. This allows us to separate clips into different sections. For example, if they were filmed on different days, or if they are to do with a particular section of any video. So it allows you to be more creative and arrange things in a different way. I often switch between views depending on what I am doing. Now remember, if I ever click and drag a clip out onto the timeline, it will automatically create a new sequence. That's what you see here, and that is our sequence. It just happens to take on the name and the thumbnail of the first clip you drag onto the timeline. Now this can get confusing to identify when you have loads of clips. This is why I like to rename the sequence straight away. To do this, you select the clip, right click, and we can rename. I will call this final sequence. We can continue to add more clips to the sequence by again dragging them onto the timeline panel. If you ever double click on one of your clips in the Project Media panel, it will open in the source window. By dragging this marker, you can play through the clip and see what it holds. The other views can also be useful in their own way. For example, in the list view, I can search or sort through the clips by different pieces of information. Another thing you can do to organize your footage is to highlight multiple clips at once. You can then right-click and create a new bin. This is just Premiere Pro's language for a folder. As you can see, it is actually just like creating a desktop folder. I can also name this bin appropriately, so since I grouped all my video clips together, I will name this Clips. I can do the same for any audio or song tracks I have and name the folder Audio. Hopefully this has shown you how you can really get flexible in Premiere Pro, creating your own workstation with different types of folders. This will save you a lot of time when you're trying to build your sequences and create your edits. In the next video, I will be showing you how to use the timeline panel, and we will look at all the tools, layers, and icons that are here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you around how to use the timeline panel in Adobe Premiere Pro. So in the previous video, we took a look at organizing our footage in the Project Media panel, and we saw that when we drag clips onto our timeline, it will create a new sequence for us to begin working with. So in the timeline panel, you have this blue marker. This relates to the playhead. You can move this around to any point on your sequence. You can press play and the sequence will play from the marker, or you can press the spacebar, which is a shortcut for play and stop. As you add clips onto your sequence in the timeline, you'll notice it just builds out from left to right. And you can zoom in or out to take a look at your whole entire project so far, and you can keep going as far as you need to. The shortcuts for that are plus and minus on the keyboard. Pressing these will allow you to zoom in or out to where your playhead is at. So the timeline is basically separated into audio and video tracks. You can take this line here in the middle that separates the two. So whenever you add a clip onto your timeline, you'll notice that the audio and the video live on two separate halves. With Premiere Pro, you have the ability to work in multiple layers. So you can drag clips on top of each other to blend and create different unique effects if you need to. And you can stack and composite videos with multiple layers reaching upwards. You'll notice we begin with V1, V2, V3. That's just video track 1, 2, and 3. And we have some basic tools here, like the eyeball, which toggles visibility of this track. You'll notice here in the top left corner, we have our current playhead position time. This is displayed in hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. You can use the keyboard shortcuts right arrow and left arrow to move one frame at a time. You also see in the top left corner of the timeline panel, we have the name of our sequence that's open. So it's kind of just in one tab. If you ever happen to accidentally close this sequence, you can always just go to your project media panel, find the sequence again and just double click it. This will reopen the tab in the timeline panel. You can have multiple sequences and tabs open to work in and out between. You can create a new sequence by going to File, New Sequence, and you can see this new tab created on the timeline panel. You can switch back and forth between sequences, or you can even open multiple sequences on the timeline on top of each other for unique editing workflows. You'll notice if I just keep dragging clips on top of each other, we are not limited to just 3 tracks. Adobe will just keep creating tracks if you drag more clips on top of each other. And if you ever don't need those or want to delete them or possibly add more tracks, you can always right click and delete or add tracks like so. Once you're familiar with the timeline, you can quickly start using shortcuts like the up and down arrow to jump between cut points. You can also use shortcuts to quickly swap between tools you have in the toolbar. This is to the left of the timeline panel. So to give you a demonstration of some of these tools, here we have a razor tool, keyboard shortcut C, which like its name suggests, cuts video clips and audio clips into 2 or multiple clips if you need to. We also have the track select tool, keyboard shortcut M, which selects all clips on a track from a given point, or selects multiple tracks. Pressing Shift will allow you to select a single track. The selection tool, keyboard shortcut V, is the default, and this is used to just select clips in the timeline. I've attached a cheat sheet with an explanation of all these tools, and also their keyboard shortcuts. This is provided in the resources with this course. In the next video, I'm going to show you some actual editing tips and basics for arranging your videos together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you some basic editing using Adobe Premiere Pro. So in the last videos we looked at the project media panel and the timeline panel. Let's have a go at putting it together and making a mini project. So I have imported my clips and sound and arranged them into bins. I can go into the clips folder and I can just click and drag them all out together if I want all of them on the track. Or I can do them one by one if I want a specific order. Now from the last video we looked at some of the most important tools we'll be using, specifically the selection tool and the cut tool. So you want to get familiar with those shortcuts V and C. If I press V, I can get my select tool, so I can start arranging things how I want. So perhaps I want to start with this shot of the sea here. So I can just move the clips around as I want. And then I'm going to move over to the clip of the birds. So you can put the clips in the right order for the story you want to tell. Now, if we look at the clip of the birds, we can see this is quite a long clip. and some of the initial part of the clip there is little action, so I don't need this. I'm going to cut it out using the razor tool. Once I've decided where to cut it, I can always delete the part of the clip I don't need. Another really useful thing with your selection tool is you can just trim the end of clips like so, just by dragging, and I use this all the time to trim clips. Another useful editing tip is ripple delete. So now I have all my clips in the right sequence and the right length. But as you can see, we need to remove all the gaps and spaces in the sequence. I can click and actually select these spaces between the clips. And if you press the delete key on your keyboard, the gaps will be removed and you will have a flowing sequence. Another useful tip in Premiere Pro is undo, like in many other programs. So if I accidentally move a clip and want to undo that, I can just press Command Z or Control Z if you are working with Windows. There's a nice history of your actions stored in Premiere Pro, so you can go and undo multiple actions if needed. You can also go to Edit, Undo, and Redo if you want to. And so with these and many other shortcuts available to you, you can work back and forth between your project media panel and add more clips, music, or other sounds you have. So we have just seen how to build a basic sequence in Premiere Pro. In the next video, we will look at the Effect Controls panel and how to start adding various effects to our clips. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In the last video, we saw how to build a basic sequence in Premiere Pro. In this video, I will be showing you how to use the Effect Controls panel. This will allow you to make your sequences a lot more creative. So the Effect Controls tab can be found to the left of your program window. But if you can't find it, just go to the window drop-down and click on it to add it to your workspace. So if we click on one of the clips, we can go to the Effect Controls panel, and we see by default we have the ability to adjust the position, scale, and rotation of our clips. We can adjust all these effects without having to add any additional effects to the tab. These options alone can be great in making your edits super creative and fun. So let's run through these effects, starting with position. This option allows you to change the position of clips in the window. You can click and drag the numbers to adjust them, or you can type in a specific number you want. A useful tip for Premiere Pro: anything highlighted in blue can be adjusted in these two ways. You can also use the up and down arrows on your keyboard for smaller adjustments. If you want to undo the recent effect you have done, you can click the reset button. This will reset to default. Scaling allows you to adjust the size of your clip. This is really useful when you're importing clips that do not match the clip size of your timeline. Again, we can just play around with the numbers to the scale we want. Now you can actually animate any of these effects by turning on keyframes. If you are wondering what the term keyframe means, it literally means a start and end point of a transition. So for example, you may want at a specific moment in your sequence to zoom in or out of one of your clips. So let's say I want to zoom in on this clip. I can place the playhead at the point I want to zoom in at. I can then turn on keyframes by clicking the toggle animation icon next to the effect I want to use. If we open this small triangle here, we can see a keyframe has been placed at the start point of our animation. We can then place another keyframe at the point we want the animation to end. So we can drag the playhead, either the one here or the one in the timeline, and move it to our endpoint. We can then scale up as needed. Now, if we play this back, we can see our animation in motion. So you can really see how keyframes can be a powerful tool in your edits. Okay, so moving down to rotation, this is mostly used to correct clips that are not straight or slightly out of line. Coming down, you can also change the opacity and blending of your clips by dragging on the percentage. This makes the clip more or less transparent. Changing the blending mode will also allow you to blend two images together to get different effects. So for example, if I put one clip on top of another here, You can see how they look or how the effect changes depending on what blending mode I select. If you want to see the change your effect choices have made to a clip, you can turn on and off the preview. You do this by hitting the FX icon. The effects are on when the FX icon is displayed, and off when there is a strike through on the icon. Now, apart from these effects that are already here, we can also add other effects to our clips using the Effects tab. So I like to place this on the right as I can view all the effects available and edit them on the left here in the Effect Controls panel. We can either search for effects, or we can navigate through the drop-down in Video Effects. Once you find the effect you would like to use, you simply drag it onto the clip you want. You will notice the edit options for that effect will now appear in the Effect Controls panel. So for example, a common one to use is crop. We can drag this onto our clip and we now see various crop options appear in the Effect Controls panel. Again, we can drag on these numbers to crop the image as we like. Have a go at playing with different effects after this video. Another useful effect is to change the speed of our clips. We can either slow clips down or speed clips up. So if you want to do this, you come down here to the timeline, right click on the clip and select speed, duration. You can change how fast or slow your clip plays, and you do this by changing the percentage. At 100%, your clip is at normal speed. Increasing the percentage speeds up the clip, and that is great for time lapses. Decreasing will slow down your clip, and that can be a fun way to show action. You can also play a clip backwards, and you do this by clicking on reverse speed. So that was an introduction into using the Effect Controls panel. In the next video, I will show you the basics of adding video transitions between your clips. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to add transitions to your sequence. So this is great for when you start editing, and transitions are something you'll be using throughout your editing journey. Now, I have two clips on my timeline right now, and as you can see, when I play between them, there is just a cut in between the clips. Now, a cut is actually a transition, and these can also be useful when you're editing when used at the right time. However, sometimes you may not want this cut, and you may want some other type of transition. The first way that is going to be the easiest for you is going to be to right-click between the two clips, and you should be able to click Apply Default Transition. Sometimes you will see this message appear. This is simply because we are applying the transition at the end of our clips, and so the last frames will be repeated. This is something to know when you're working with your own clips. And what that will give you is the default cross-dissolve transition, and that looks like this. Now if you click on the actual transition, which is like a piece of tape across the two clips, you can make it longer or shorter. If you click on it and then look over at the Effect Controls panel, you can also make adjustments here. For example, you can adjust only one side of it, or you can choose the alignment to start at the center, and you have all these other options here. I'll keep it at the center, which is the most popular way of keeping it. But let's say you don't want this basic cross-dissolve transition. So what we can do is remove this transition first by clicking it and pressing delete on our keyboard. We can then go over to the effects panel on the right here, or wherever you have placed yours. Remember, you can also find this under the Windows drop-down right here. In the effects panel, there will be a bunch of different folders. We looked at video effects in the last video. This time round, we want video transitions. You can see there are plenty of different types of transitions grouped under different folders. So just taking a look at the dissolve transitions, let's drag the dip to black option, which we can drag between our clips. And there are also other options which can be useful in whatever you are trying to achieve. There's also your common peels and wipes, which can be a little bit cheesy, but you can also use these on text and shapes, so it's good to know where they are. Now, like before, we can click on the transition, go to the Effect Controls panel, and we can specify the duration and time of these transitions. However, you can now see some other options. So here, we can control at what point the transitions start and end. So for example, we can start halfway through and then stop at the end. This will give you something like this. You can get creative with these and try various transitions on your clips. That was a basic lesson on how to apply video transitions in Premiere Pro. Hopefully that gives you an insight into transitions and how to use them. In the next video, we will look at adjusting the colors of our clips and working with the Lumetri color panel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I will be going through the Lumetri color panel and how to color correct in Premiere Pro. Now, when you are color correcting a video, you want to adjust a clip for the best exposure, looking at the white and black points as necessary and correcting the white balance. Color grading is then the process of adjusting your clip to achieve the look and mood you are going for. Before we start color grading, we need to get the clip to a neutral starting point, something called primary color correction. I have a clip here on my timeline, which I will be using throughout the video. Now, all the tools you need can be found in the Lumetri color panel. You can find this in the color workspace, which I am in right now. Or you can go to the Windows drop-down and again select this. Now, looking at this clip, it's a bit too warm. I will start by using the white balance selector in the basic correction section. To use this, I will find a white spot in this image. This area looks pretty white over here, so this is a pretty good starting point. By clicking here, most of the time this will correct the color of your clip quite nicely. Now we can fine tune this a little bit. We can use the temperature slider for this. You can see if I drag this all the way to the left, it turns very blue. Going the other way, it turns very amber. I think a nice spot is around here. Remember, I'm just using my own intuition here to find a neutral setting. Now I also think this clip is a bit too dark, so I'm going to increase the exposure slightly. We can also possibly add some contrast, and by this I mean observing the level of blacks and whites in the image. So you can see sliding all the way to the right gives a high contrast, and all the way to the left gives a low contrast. I think around here looks pretty good. Now there's also highlights, shadows, blacks and whites, and you can use these to adjust the clip more if needed. I am going to leave them as they are for now, and our primary color correction is now complete. We can actually go over to the Effect Controls panel and see the changes we have made by turning the effect on and off. You can see our primary color correction has given us a whole more neutral clip. Now we can look more into color grading. Now again, another point to note here, color grading is a subjective area of video editing. What I think looks good, other people may not, and the vice versa. But I will show you how I work on color grading, which will give you an insight into using the tools within Premiere Pro for color grading. So firstly, I'm going to go under the Creative tab in the Lumetri color panel. Now I prefer a more desaturated look, so I'm going to adjust the vibrance a little bit. We can see the intensity of the color is just lowered a little bit by dragging to the left. Now I'm going to go down to the curves box. I'm going to raise the black point up on the image, which is at the bottom point here. And I'm also going to lower the white point slightly, which is at the top here, like so. Now I can head down to the color wheel section. You can see that there are separate color wheels for shadows, midtones, and highlights. You also have these sliders on the side, and they can adjust the brightness or exposure of a clip. Though I think I may have adjusted the shadows a bit too much in the curve section, so I'm actually going to darken them here. Around here looks good for now. I can also move the shadow color wheel, and you can see by dragging the wheel in each different direction, I can actually change the tint of the shadows. So here, I think a turquoisey tint looks quite good. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's before and after adding a different kind of mood to our video clip. So the final tool I would like to show you is the HSL secondary tab, which can be quite useful. Now let's say in this image I would like to change the color of these trees, but leave everything else as is. I can actually use this eyedropper here and click on the green part of the image, the trees. And now if I drag this color wheel, I should only be changing the color of the trees. We'll turn that off for now. I just wanted to show you guys how to use that. Now you may have noticed we've been making all of these changes directly onto an individual clip. This is fine for primary color correction. But when it comes to grading, what I actually do is come down to the project window, click on New Item and Adjustment Layer. I then drag this onto my timeline, and I make these adjustments onto the adjustment layer. Now what this means is I can drag the adjustment layer over all my clips, and the same color grading will then be applied to all the clips underneath it. This is the most efficient way to work and can save you a lot of time. So that was a basic introduction into color adjustment and the Lumetri color panel. In the next video, we will be looking at how we can adjust the sounds of our clips and the essential features you need to know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to edit your audio clips in Premiere Pro. First, let's take a look at the audio tracks in the timeline panel. You can actually make some quick adjustments here. I have placed some of our video clips here, and we can see their associated audio. I've also added a song track. To temporarily silence an audio track, you can use the mute track button. This will mute this track only, so now all we will hear is the sound associated with the video clips. If you want to silence all other tracks, but keep this track's audio, you can press the solo button. And so now all you will hear is the music track. Now the audio tracks in the timeline panel contain waveforms. These are visual representations of a clip's audio over time. Now the height of the waveform shows the amplitude of the audio. The longer the waveform, the louder the audio. You can use this wheel here to make tracks larger or smaller. This will allow you to see the waveforms more clearly. Sometimes you may not want to keep the audio associated with the video clip. But if you try to delete the audio, the video clip also deletes. This is because the audio and the video are linked together. To unlink them, you select the clip, right-click, and select Unlink. Now the audio and the clip are separated, and you can remove or edit as you like. Now let's learn about how to improve sound quality. There are some easy ways to improve the quality of your soundtrack in Premiere Pro. We can go over to the Effects panel and select Audio Effects. Here there are various ways we can edit the quality of our sound clips. One of the most useful is the denoise effect. This allows you to remove background and static noise from an audio clip. Now this is mainly used when you're recording a voiceover. Here is a voiceover clip which is included in the resources in this course. Now to use this, just like video effects, you drag the denoise effect onto your clip. Then you can head to the Effect Controls panel to make adjustments. Under individual parameters, you have amount, which is how much you would like to denoise by. You can just drag the slider to adjust. The voiceover here is actually quite good quality. So what you can do is have a go recording on your phone, import this in Premiere Pro, and have a play around with this effect. You will see how much of an impact this effect has in removing any background noise. Now another great feature in Premiere Pro is the Essential Sound panel. So if we head over to the Audio workspace, we can see the Essential Sound panel on the right. Again, if you can't see this, you can just select this under the Windows drop-down. Now this panel is really useful in making high-quality audio adjustments. It also has a lot of automation which will make your life easier. If we select one of our audio clips, the options in the Essential Sound panel are activated. Now you need to tell Premiere Pro what type of clip you are working with. This will then give you different options depending on your choice. This is a voiceover, so I will select dialogue and a long list of adjustments appear. So coming down this list, first we can see loudness. If we click Auto Match, this will automatically adjust the loudness to industry standards. This is very useful since sometimes our recordings have sound at different levels. Coming down under the Clarity section, we can select Dynamics. Premiere Pro will then analyze the audio and make some appropriate clarity adjustments. Coming down further, we can see EQ, which makes adjustments to your audio at different frequencies. Under Preset, you can see various options, and you can select one depending on what you are trying to achieve. There are various other adjustments you can make by working through these options in the Essential Sound panel. Now, if you're going to be working with the same type of audio clip, you can save these settings as a preset. You can do this by clicking here. You will then be able to apply these same settings again for another clip. This will save you time when you're working with loads of different clips. Finally, let's take a look at some audio transitions. To do this, I'm going to head back to the editing workspace. For now, we'll mute the other audio tracks so we can just hear the song track. And I'm going to cut this audio where the video clips end. So we can go to Effects, Audio Transitions, and under the Crossfade folder, we will see various transitions. I can apply these to our audio clips in the same way and drag them onto our clips. I'm going to apply the exponential fade transition to the end of our clip. This will fade out the music nicely so it does not come to an abrupt stop. To adjust the fade, you can select it on your timeline and drag to make it longer or shorter. You can also add a constant gain transition which will introduce an audio clip nicely. Let's hear how this sounds. As you can see, the music was gradually introduced. These transitions are also useful when working with different clips and transitioning from one to another. So that was an introduction into editing sound in Premiere Pro. In the next video, I will show you how to export your projects in Premiere Pro. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can export your videos in Premiere Pro. So let's say you have now built your sequence. You are done with all your edits and you are ready to save and export. You might want to export to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or some other destination. So the first thing you need to do is highlight the sequence you want to export. Right now, I only have this sequence open. This blue box shows us the sequence is highlighted. Then we can go to the File drop-down, come down to Export, and select Media. The keyboard shortcut for this is Command-M, or Control-M if you are working in Windows. Okay, so this box now appears. On the left-hand side is a preview of your video. At the bottom is a playhead which you can drag through. And under Source Range, you can select whether you want to export the entire sequence or just part of it. You can set to export part of your sequence using these in and out points. You simply drag these triangles to select the part of your sequence you wish to export. So we then come on to the export settings, which is a common question for people. First, you need to choose the export format. Now, there are a lot of options here, but the most common one that will work for Facebook, YouTube, and all your other common destinations is H.264. Coming down, there are some presets already saved in Premiere Pro. These already have the best settings for different things you may want to do. So the one that most people use is YouTube 1080p HD. That will automatically set the settings found down below here perfect for YouTube. There are also other presets, for example if you need smaller sizes or 4K settings. And you can also find presets for Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, and mobile devices. There is also just a high quality 1080p general setting which can be useful. These presets will cover you for the majority of exporting you will do when video editing. Now you can change the name of the file here by clicking on the blue text. You can then also decide where you want to save your video. The options here allow you to adjust the effects, video, and audio further. I don't really ever change these as the presets do the hard work for you. So then you come to the options at the bottom to export. If you click on the export button, the video will start encoding and will then be saved in the format you chose. The other button you see is the Q button here. If you select this, the Adobe Media Encoder will open. This is a separate program designed to help you export multiple projects. This means you won't have to sit by your laptop to keep pressing export when you're working with multiple projects. You can double-click, browse, and select multiple projects to queue here. So this covers the majority of exporting cases you will encounter. If you do need further specific settings, you can find these on Adobe web pages. However, this video has covered the majority of settings you will need to know. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to watch the conclusion of this tutorial.